There was a lot to talk about from Atlanta this past Sunday. There was a lot that happened that is going to really, I think, tell the tale of this season. And in a lot of ways, I think fans' perception of where things will go has changed. So let's not waste time. Let's get into my 5 takeaways from Atlanta. Starting off is that Kirk Cousins always manages to disappoint. You shouldn't have got your hopes up, Falcons fans. Sorry. Wrong Atlanta sporting event that happened in Atlanta on Sunday. I'm just a petty Vikings fan. Let's get into the real first one, and that is Joey Logano is insane in these even years. If you don't know, Joey Logano has made the Final Four since the elimination style format has been in place from 2014, 2016, 2018, 2020, and 2022. And unless you're living under a rock, this is 2024. And listen, he's not been good all year. He's been a mid-pack driver at best, and let's not pretend that he has been in championship form this year like he was in those other years. He lucked into a win at Nashville after 5 freaking overtimes where he ran 20th all day. A Walmart delivery sign won him Atlanta, but forgive me though. Forgive me for my doubts and thinking that Joey was going to be eliminated in the first 2 rounds, because sometimes you just got to have that golden horseshoe up your ass the way Kevin Harvick used to say Jimmy had it. And maybe it's just because it's a super speedway and it's an overreaction. And you know what? Overreactions can be fun. Let's just roll with it. But it just seems like Joey Logano manages to get some of the best rolls of the dice that any driver will. Another one is that MTJ is just checked out. And yeah, I know he wrecked. I'm not going to blame that on him. That's super speedway shenanigans. But just hear me out on this. Since announcing his retirement at Iowa before the Cup race, he has been flat out awful. I mean, just absolutely terrible. His stat line is 11 starts, no wins, no top 5s. He hasn't had a top 5 since Kansas in early May. 2 top 10s in the last 11 races, 42 laps led, 3 DNFs, and he's averaging a 24.7 average finish, which is basically 25th. Remember, many of these fields are 36-car fields, so he is doing abysmal in the lower third of the field more often than not, and he has 6 straight races now of finishing 24th or worse. And this team just is not right at this point. It's not elite. It's a team that can pop up and run in the top 5 and top 10, and maybe, hopefully, he gets a win by the end of his full-time career, but at this rate, the team just isn't there for him. The driver seems mentally checked out. It seems like he's off on a bass fishing boat somewhere in the middle of New Jersey next summer instead of in the moment, and to be completely honest, I can't blame him. Add to that, the James Small is just not in the tier of a crew chief that could turn this around for a driver. He is not Cole Pearn. He is well below Cole Pearn. He's not an awful crew chief, but he ain't exactly good either. And with an aging driver, that's not going to help. Martin Truex Jr., I think, is just basically skating through, and I don't think he really cares if he gets eliminated in this round or any round or how far he goes. I think he's just in it contractually at this point. Now, my middle point here is that Ford is set at the super speedways. I'm sorry, but until Toyota or Chevrolet does something different, Ford is the one to beat, bar none. The cars alone, just by how they're designed with the bumpers, are perfect for bump drafting, which is imperative now in current super speedway racing, and it's been imperative for a while. Penske is insanely good at Atlanta. We see it with Joey Logano winning this race. Ryan Blaney is always up front in the top 3 or so when it comes to Atlanta races. And Austin Cindric is just a lap-leading merchant at this track. You add to that as well that Ford's dominated Talladega, probably would have won instead of Tyler Reddick had McDowell not tried to throw a third bonsai block or whatever it might be. If you look on that replay, it's 3 Fords on the bottom lined up with him, Gregson, and Brad Keselowski. So it's looking pretty damn good. And they've won the last 2. They probably should have won Dega. Any Ford team can win, and they've shown it by either winning or running up front for the win. Just look at Penske this past week. Look at RFK through the last 2 years. I mean, they went 1-2 at Daytona last summer. Front Row has been leading these races at the end, and Michael McDowell is pretty damn good at them. Todd Gilliland, pretty damn good as well. And the Wood brothers now got a win. really, at this point, you just need Rick Ware Racing to get up there and get a victory at one of these tracks, and you have pretty much every Ford team you need up there winning races and competing for wins at super speedways. I'm sorry, but until a Ford does not dominate this race, lead the majority of the laps, or do anything else that would look dominant, looks fallible in any way, I'm going to bet on a Ford at these tracks. Now, the fourth one I'm going to put up here is that the charters discussion will get uglier. It's going to get so much worse. NASCAR pretty much strong-armed the teams into signing on Saturday. They basically gave them like this 1,000-page document or whatever, and we're like, hey, you got 5 hours to read this and sign it, or else we're taking your charters away. And everyone but Front Row and 2311 signed the new agreement. And Denny has been, I think, becoming more and more frustrated. His season, in my opinion, has went from a dream to a nightmare. You have this, you have the penalty, all of that. And in my opinion, this, especially with 2311, with Michael Jordan's resources and money, Michael Jordan is worth more than the France family, I think, at this point. You then have to look at the fact that they're going to open Pandora's box here. I think that this could very well be taken to court, and it could go well up the ladder of the court system. If you look at it like this, Pandora's box would be open for the simple fact that if they're taken to court, and if this is seen as a real case that can be taken up the ladder, well, NASCAR's going to have to open their books. They're a private company that wants to keep all that stuff really close to the vest. I don't really blame them. And this could force major changes to how NASCAR is run and how NASCAR is looked at legally when it comes to a lot of the different things that they do. And my last big point is this. This race at Atlanta was exactly what NASCAR wanted. No, it did not have the crazy finish or the bonsai moves or any of that, but think of it like this. There was a winner that wasn't one of the favorites, though a big name winning it and advancing, Joey Logano. Logano all year, like I said, has not been the greatest, and now he's going to be moving on to the round of 12. You have a villain storyline to follow. A favorite was going right down to the cut line because of a crash with Kyle Larson. Not saying they favor against Hendrick. They definitely don't go against Hendrick, but more just saying, hey, you now have somebody who is a clear-cut championship contender who might be a first-round exit. That's always a huge story. You have no big one in this race, so fans can't really complain about the absolute insanity. Yeah, you had an overtime, but nothing stupid really happened. So with that, you end up with a pretty clean race overall. You have underdogs now in position to advance, Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric being the biggest ones of those at this time. And you also have Denny Hamlin and one of his cars getting wrecked. And yes, I do think NASCAR is that petty. When you look at all of this, though, and you look at the storylines NASCAR can build with it, I think of what Brian France once said. Paraphrasing what he said, well, I'm rooting for second in a battle for the win. You want something to happen. And the way that the standings are now, with Watkins Glen and Bristol coming up, something definitely can happen. So those are my big takeaways from this weekend. Now I want to know yours. Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, have a good one.